There was a poll that I believe it's the New York Times had just in the past 24 hours asking people on the question of ICE whether they were going too far or not far enough. The people who thought they were going too far was again about a 2-to-1 majority.
We've been hearing a lot about ICE over the last couple of weeks after the shooting of that mother. And the Vice President, J.D. Vance, has defended the actions of ICE agents for detaining a 5-year-old boy in Minnesota along with his father on Wednesday. Let's listen to him rebuffing the criticism thrown his way in a press conference earlier this week.
I'm a father of a 5-year-old, actually, a 5-year-old little boy, and I think to myself, oh my God, this is terrible. How did we arrest a 5-year-old? Well, I do a little bit more follow-up research. And what I find is that the 5-year-old was not arrested, that his dad was an illegal alien, and then when they went to arrest his illegal alien father, the father ran. So the story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death? Are they not supposed to arrest an illegal alien in the United States of America? If the argument is that you can't arrest people who have violated our laws because they have children, then every single parent is going to be completely given immunity from ever being the subject of law enforcement. That doesn't make any sense.
Now, the Ecuadorian national Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias was taken alongside his son Liam, who is one of 4 children in the school district to have been detained by ICE agents in the past fortnight. This is according to school officials. The family's lawyer said that they did everything by the book when it came to emigrating to the USA.
Liam and his dad did enter the United States at a port of entry to seek asylum through the CBP-1 app at the Brownsville border crossing. So they did everything right when they came in. They used the app, they made an appointment, they came to the border and presented themselves to Customs and Border Patrol. They've shared all of their information with the government, and they were following the process. They were just trying to secure safety and persecution for their family from their home country. But ICE didn't care about the fact that they had those pending claims and then just arrested them.
Well, let's now speak with Niall Stanage, who is the White House columnist for The Hill. Hi, Niall. Welcome to the show.
Good to be with you, Ayesha.
So what do you know about this story? What have you been able to unpick? Because it looks like there's 2 contested versions of what's gone on here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have laid out those contested versions pretty well. I mean, on one hand, you have not just lawyers for the family, but a local school official in Minnesota accusing ICE of using this 5-year-old as bait, because there is a report that they wanted the 5-year-old to sort of knock on the door of the home to get the door opened. And that's why the father did not want the son to do that. Obviously, it's an incredibly emotive thing when you have a 5-year-old being taken off to an immigration detention facility of some kind. Now, you did hear Vice President Vance then give the countervailing argument to that. Of course, one of the central disputes in this whole thing is where the family or where members of the family in the United States without authorization or not. Vance said pretty emphatically they were. You heard the lawyer say equally emphatically that they weren't, that they had applied for asylum and followed the rules for that. So that's a clear contradiction or dispute between the 2 accounts that, to my knowledge, has not been definitively settled yet.
And how does it get settled? Or are we in a world where your view just becomes the facts?
Well, that's a bigger question. I think it is certainly the case that we're in a moment where a large number of the American public can look at the same events and see something completely different, depending on which political identity they adopt. Now, having said that, there are issues that can break through that. You mentioned in your introduction, Ayesha, the shooting dead of Renee Good. There has been polling on that suggests that the American public, by a margin of about 2-to-1, believe that shooting was unjustified. That is an instance where public opinion at least shifts away from these most fixed 2 political tribe divisions that we sometimes see.
And where are the public in terms of ICE? Because one thing Donald Trump was very clear about when he ran for president successfully the second time was that he was going to crack down hard on immigration, and that seemed to be quite popular with large numbers of American citizens. But what do people feel about? I mean, many people will argue on the Republican side, look, he's doing what he promised in the run-up to the election. He said he was going to be tough on illegal immigration, and that's what he's doing. But where do you think that the public are on this now?
I think one of the difficulties for all of us discussing this is that we just use the word immigration, and I use it as well, as if it is a simple issue. People are yes or no, hardline or soft, hawkish or permissive. And it's actually rather more complicated than that. Yes, immigration writ large was basically Trump's strongest issue when he ran against Kamala Harris. And still to this day, the issue of border security, in other words, the reduction in crossings at the southern border, is one of his strongest, if not the strongest issue, even as his approval ratings are quite mediocre. Separate from that, there is obvious public concern about ICE going too far, about these raids causing pushback. There was a poll that I believe it's the New York Times had just in the past 24 hours, asking people on the question of ICE whether they were going too far or not far enough. The people who thought they were going too far was again about a 2-to-1 majority. So that, I think, points to some of the complexities around this issue of immigration.
Well, look, really good to catch up, Hugh. Thank you so much for your time. That's Niall Stanage, White House columnist from The Hill.